Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Lisa's Coloring Corner. In this video, I would like to show you just a few color palette books and a couple other things that I have that I thought may interest you. Some of this will pertain just to colored pencils, as in this book, no, this one. But the majority of them will pertain to whatever color medium you are using. So the first book that I want to go through, and I will link all of these books down below. I can give you an approximate price that it is currently on Amazon. So I will mention that too. So let's zoom in just a little. Okay. Alrighty, let's come back out a little. I'm using this recording app on an older iPad because at the end I want to go through an app that really works awesome in coinciding with color palettes. And so I need my good iPad that I normally watch my recording on. I need that to show you the app. So I am trying this out on the old iPad, so bear with me. Okay, the first book that I want to show you is just a smaller, thinner book. It is called The Colored Pencil Artist Pocket Palette. It is by Jane Strother. I bought this used on Amazon for about $7. If you want the new one, it's about $25 for just this little bitty book. So you can see why I got the used copy. It is quite an old book. I believe it is from 1993. So it is an old book, but it has some really good information in it. In the beginning here, it talks about, how to use this book, the basic color palette, mixing, overlaying colors. So basically it is about, this book is how to get different colors, combining and overlaying two different pencils. Here is the basic color palette of 12 colors that she uses throughout this book. So it's just a very basic small color palette that she uses. Now this is when you know that it's an older book. It says the names refer to the barrel dry pencils and the numbers in brackets to the Caran d'Ache water-soluble pencils. So barrel, we know, is the old version of Prismacolor. So the words, the color names that she uses in this book are Prismacolor names. So here she talks about mixing secondary colors together. So your yellow and your red, of course, makes your orange. Now, this is kind of interesting. She talks about overlaying colors and how when heavy pressure is applied evenly, if you put the purple down first and the yellow over the top, you get this. If you put the yellow down first with the purple over the top, you get this. Now, the same thing if you just do light pressure. Here, if you do the purple heavy pressure with the light yellow light pressure underneath, and then vice versa, and then the yellow heavy pressure with the light violet pressure, and which one is colored first. So it just kind of shows you all the different kinds of colors that you can get just based on how you put the colors down, which one goes over the top of which, and the amount of pressure that you put on that particular color. Methods of color mixing. We have the hatching strokes, and we kind of know about the cross-hatching, even cross-hatching, varied cross-hatching, colors shaded together, and shaded colors rubbed with tissue. So she kind of goes over that. Some different other ways to blend with the white pencil and, things like that. Then she goes into the different colors. And this is the True Blue, the number 161. And if it is mixed with Scarlet Red, Process Red, Blush. So she goes through and shows what these colors will look like when they are combined with the other color. And she goes through all of the initial 12 colors that she talked about. So that's what a lot of this book is about and what it's showing. Now here, like on here, mixing greens. Here's Deco Yellow with Sky Blue. So it'll show you down below which color they're mixing with what and what it'll look like. So here we have Yellow Ochre with Ultramarine. Okay, then it talks about using greens. Here are all the yellows. Again, the same way. Here's Lemon Yellow with Scarlet Red, Canary Yellow with those 12 colors, Deco Yellow, Yellow Ochre, Goldenrod, Pumpkin Orange. And here we go with the mixing of the oranges. Again, using this name over here, mixed with the colors down here. So it gives you a real good idea of how you can overlay colors, what color with what, to get some new palettes. Here is using bright colors. Again, same type of thing. I just thought it was kind of interesting how you can combine different colored pencils to get new colors. Isn't that pretty? Here we get into the light violets, the violets, mixing your purples. Here's optical mixing. So you mix a whole bunch of colors together. We get into the burnt umber, sienna browns, terracotta, bronze, and here is mixing browns together, 2 colors, and then here with 3 colors. So we have it listed over here and down here. Using dark colors. French gray, cool gray, 50%. Black, and then how you can use white. And that is the end of the book. It is spiral bound, which I do like, kind of the hidden spiral. So, again, just a small book, but it really, again, is geared towards colored pencil, but gives you a good idea of, especially those of you who use Polychromos, where you do layer colored pencils over the top of one another. Prismacolor, we typically blend more rather than layering, but this can also, as you can see, be used with Prismacolor because that is the pencil that she used throughout this book. So, that is the Colored Pencil Artist Pocket Palette. The next one I would like to show you is called, let me zoom you back out, is called 101 Textures in Colored Pencil. Again, more geared towards the colored pencil. It is by Denise J. Howard. It is a practical step-by-step drawing techniques for rendering a variety of surfaces and textures. And while this is, I guess, geared towards the artist who draws, I don't know about you, I do not draw, but even with coloring in illustrations that have already been, drawn for us, this gives a really good idea of how to get the texture of fur, how to do straight hair, curly hair, kind of where the highlights would be. So the table of contents steps you through each particular thing. The getting started, how to use this book, here starts with people. Smooth skin, age skin, straight hair, curly hair, wavy hair, facial hair, the eyes, the nose, the lips. So let's look at that because here it's the how to use. Again, they basically refer to Prismacolor in this book, but it talks about like kneaded erasers and different types of paper, talking about the swatch chart. Good idea to have a swatch chart in here. It talks about blenders and solvents, sharpeners, fixatives, things like that. Techniques and color mixing, how it will make a difference, how sharp your pencil is, how you hold your pencil. Some effects and different, again, like the previous book, different strokes that you can do, hatching and cross-hatching. Color mixing, warm versus cool colors. Now here we get into actually the book itself. This section is for people. here is how to, the different steps, step by step by step. And let me zoom you in a little. And my iPad has frozen. Okay, so maybe you're zoomed in, maybe you're not. Okay, for some reason it seems like that other app that I have been using doesn't like it on the older iPad. It kept freezing, so I have gone now back to my older app that I know works on here, but I can't see as well. So this is going to be interesting. All right, we go to the smooth skin, and it just takes you step by step through, you know, how you add different colors, goldenrod over peach, wash of burnt ochre over the goldenrod, you know, things like that. Here we get into aged skin. Let me bring you down just a tad so you can see some of this. So we have aged skin here. Then we have straight hair, and again, kind of takes you step by step how to highlight and darken, you know, create the appearance of the hair. Here is curly hair. Again, it kind of shows you how to bring the highlights, things like that, into the hair step by step as far as wavy hair. Here's some facial hair. This I found interesting was the eye. Takes you step by step. Doesn't that look neat? Then we go to the nose. And finally, the lips, which I found interesting because you don't see a lot, both the nose and the lips, you don't really see a lot of tutorials on doing those. And I always have a problem. The few times I have colored people, I always had a problem with getting the lips to look right. Okay, then we get to the animals and insects. So here it talks about dog fur. Here is a smooth fur. Here is some curly fur, coarse dog hair. Then we get into the eyes. Here is long cat hair, short cat hair. And here, I thought this was neat, the cat's eye. So yeah, it goes on and on. Bring you back out so you can just kind of see the book as a whole. It just kind of goes on and on about all these different objects. Elephant skin, snake skin, fish, leopards, butterflies. I like that one too. Then we get into fabrics and textiles. You got your wool, burlap, plaid, tweed. So yeah, all different kinds of things in here. Here we have sequins, lace, glass, porcelain. Here's rusted steel, wet pavement, smooth wood, aged wood, wooden barrel, wrought iron. I mean, just here you get into your fruits, just all kinds. And we get into nature, which I liked this too. We got the smooth bark and we got rough bark. Pine needles and pine cones, palm frond, thatched roof. Here's ferns and moss. A grass field. I read through this entire thing on how they did the flower petals, because that is something that we color an awful lot of, and it tells you kind of how to go over the whole thing with this light yellow, and then go over it, almost all of it, with the Spanish orange. Cover most of that with a wash of very sharp pale vermilion, and then finally to go over the pale vermilion with a wash of very sharp crimson lake, using heavier pressure in the middle. So again, it kind of steps you through, even with the color names. If you want one to look like this, of course you'll be using different colors if you want a different colored flower, but I just thought it, again, was very interesting. Rocks, river pebbles and sand, seashells, running river, still lake and a rippled lake. And then I liked the bubbles tutorial, fire. your ocean clouds. I thought was interesting too. And here we have different raindrops. One is on the water, one is on the window. And I thought that was pretty neat too. So yeah, all kinds of things. And back here, there's an artist gallery of some drawings. So yeah, I just thought it was kind of a neat book talking about all different kind of textures. Kind of just to give you an idea. Again, some of us are artists, some of us are not. But I just like this to give me some idea of how to go about coloring some objects. So that one I found on Amazon. It was about 11 bucks. So not too bad. The next items are all color palette books. I have the first volume and volume 2. These are called color index books. They're thick and they are just really handy. I initially bought these just to give me an idea of some color palettes to use in my coloring, especially in my pattern designs and mandala colorings. But using it with the app that I am going to show you can give you a really good idea of what you can use throughout all of your coloring, and I am going to get into that. So let me bring you down again. This has, okay, in the table of contents, it just talks about the basics. Then we go through active hues, quiet, progressive, rich. Then we go into muted palettes, culture / era, natural. And then we get into some other things. I'm going to talk about also the browser safe palettes, and I'll explain why. This color index book 1 goes through 2, 3, and 4 color palettes. So like there's 2 colors in a palette, there's 3 colors, or there's 4 colors. The next book that I'm going to be showing you goes through, I believe, yes, 3 colors, 4 colors, and 5 color palettes. And this is set up just a little bit differently, and I'll show you that in a moment. So as we look through this book, again, just a cute little teeny tiny book. Gives you an introduction, how you can use this, some definitions. And these are terms that you'll kind of have to know to use the app that I'm going to show you next. We don't worry about in the app the CMYK, which is the cyan, magenta, yellow, black values. What we will be using will be the RGBs. The reds, greens, and blues values. There's all numeric, alphanumeric values to each particular color that is around that you can imagine. There are also hex values, which the next book and the third book that I am going to show you has hex values to every single color. It's nice when you can have the hex value when you are using this app I'm going to be showing you, because you don't have to have an input. You don't have to have a number for the red, the green, and the blue. And again, I'll explain that in a moment. The vast majority of this book does not give hex values. It just gives you these 2 values, and I'll show you how we can use those values. Here we have the basics, and it just talks about primary colors on the wheel and the secondary colors around the color wheel. And so then we get into just some 2 color palettes. Now, if I bring you in really close, you will see where we have the cyan, magenta, yellow, and black values. And I told you, don't worry about those if you are going to be using this app that I'm going to be showing you. We just worry about the red, green, blue values. So the red, green, blue value of this red color is 198 red, 29 green, and 35 blue. The values of the yellow is 255 red, 203 green, and 4 blue. Now, if you want to just use this as I was, just as a color palette book, you don't have to be concerned with those values at all. The only time you really need to be concerned with those values is if you need to determine exactly, okay, what pencil is that? What Copic marker is that? I got an app for you. So yeah, let's say you like these two colors together. Okay, what Prismacolor pencil is that? What Polychromos pencils are that? What Copic markers are those? So that is coming up. So we go through a lot of two color palettes. And these are your basic primary and secondary colors. So let's just flip through these a little bit. Here we get into three colors. Let me get you down where you should be. Right over there. Okay, so here we get into three colors. And again, each color is going to give your red, green, and blue values. Here we get into some more intense hues with three colors. And you can see the color coding on the edge. You'll kind of see what colors you're getting into as far as the palettes. Here we're getting into more green or oranges, magentas, purples. So here we have 4 different colors in this palette. Again, we're not going to worry about those up there, the red, greens, and blues. So here is intense natural tones. Then we're getting into quiet time. Here are some cool hues. Here are only 2 color palettes. Here we get into 4 colors in the palette. And on and on. Here's some very light tints, mixed. So I'm not going to go through the entire book, but you can see there are just hundreds, well, thousands and thousands and thousands of color palettes in here that are all split out by category. So yeah, just tons of ideas for you. Now, the one thing I did want to show to you in this book, this is browser safe. And what this section refers to is there are, let's see, what does it say? Browser safe colors are the 216 hues that can be shown on traditional 8-bit computer screens. Of course, we have higher bit computer screens now, but in this particular book, it is going to actually show you the hex values. So before, when I was talking about, you know, it's unfortunate we don't have the hex value for these colors in this book. When you get back to the browser safe section, up here will be the hex values. And again, this is going to be easier once we get to the app to determine what Prismacolor pencil is that, or what Polychromos, or there's a whole bunch in there, and I'll show you. So this particular section does show the red, green, and blues, and it shows the hex values. So again, I did want to point that out to you. All right, so that they have quite a few, not as many as the rest of the book, of course, but they have quite a few palettes in here where they do include the hex values. Then there's just some browser terms, and there are some more browser safe palettes back here. Okay, so that is book 1. Now, if we look at book 2, now, book 1, I got both of these books used. Because used, they are $15. If you want to get these new, hold on to your seat of your pants. New, this Color Index book 1 that I just went through is like $60 and up. And this here one, used, is about $10. New is $50 and up. And these books are in perfect condition. I do not see a thing wrong with them, but they were classified as used. So, huge, huge difference. These are both by Jim Krause. So you can search for, you know, his books out on Amazon or across the internet. Again, I will leave links to all these books down below if you are interested in getting any of these books. So, the Color Index 2, this second part, is set up a little bit differently. Let's get to the beginning about the author. Here, the book is split out by colors. So it gives you the page number. These are blue palettes. Then we have violets, reds, orange, yellows, greens, and then we do have some mixed palettes. Here it talks, okay, here's a combination of blue hues. Here is blue and neighboring hues. Here's blues and blacks and tints of blacks. And I realize you probably can't see a whole lot of this, but just to kind of give you an idea, here is yellow. What page is that? All those palettes are on. Orange. And again, here it kind of goes through which hues are being combined into, you know, to create those palettes. So let's go through this book, and I'm going to show you why this book is just a little bit different in its layout, as I said. And here it goes again through the color basics, the value of the values, different combos, your monochromatic, triadic, and I can't talk this morning, analogous, analogous variation, complementary, and split complementary. And many of you, when you're working color palettes, you're already acquainted with those terms. Here is chapter 1, and these are blues. So we get into all of the different blues, okay? And again, as in the first book, you will see on this side is the cyan, magenta, yellow, black values that we're not going to be concerned with in regard to using this app. I'm going to be showing you, but here are the RGB values, okay? All right. So, again, on the side, you can see this is all really pretty along the side. Kind of gives you an idea of where you're at in the book as far as what color palette section you're in. So here we go through just, again, thousands and thousands of color palettes for you to pick from. Here is blues and neighboring hues, opposing hues. So this is all your blues. Tons and tons. Here we get into the violets. So just tons and tons of violets. Then we will eventually get into the red hues. Neighboring with the red, opposing with the red. Here's black and tints of black with red. Then we get into orange, opposing oranges, neutral with the orange. And here we get into blacks and tints of blacks. Then we get into the yellows. And here it does state on the side that these are the RGB values and these are the CMYK percentages. Okay, then we get into more of the yellows, opposing hues, natural, or neutral, I should say, tints of black. Here we get into the greens. And I know I'm just flipping through this really fast. I just kind of wanted to give you an idea of what was all included in this book. Okay. So, here are some mixed palettes. These are the ones I like. Like this here one. We have this purple, a bright pink, bright blue, and a kind of a greenish type of yellow. And here you have your red, green, blue values for each color. Okay. So let's say you wanted Prismacolors, this color. You wanted Copics, this color. Again, those are the values we are going to be looking at from these books. Okay, so that is book 2. Now, the last book that I'm going to go through before I show you the app is this Color Inspirations book. This is by Darius Monsef IV. It does have a CD in the back with 3,286 downloadable swatch files. Wow, huh? There are more than 3,000 innovated palettes from the colorlovers.com community, color with a U. So we know that that is from across the pond from us here in the States. This is, again, a spiral bound book, the hidden spiral, which I like. So let's take a look at this book. Here is the table of contents for this particular book. And we have, first we have the introduction, color theory. It goes through all of the different, color theory information. And then we start with the color palettes. So there is a very big difference in this particular book. Over here on the, ooh, sorry for that sound. The in the table of contents, it shows you right what page you can go right to if you are looking for, say, pinks. You would go to page 181. So why don't we go ahead and do that? We will go to page 181, and I am going to show you what is so different about this particular book. Okay, so here starts our pinks. Okay, now if we flip to the first page, look at all of these palettes. Now, let me zoom you back in. And what is the value that we see over here? We see hex values. Yay! So not only do we have the RGB, not RGB, we have the CMYK. We have the RGB values, which are the values that we had to use, throughout the other two books. But we have the hex value. In this entire book, it gives you every single hex value. And again, it's going to be nice to have this because you're only having to input one alphanumeric code rather than all three of these values when you want to find out what marker or what colored pencil to use if you want that particular color. Okay, let's come back out so I can kind of just give you an overview of this book in general. That was just, the big ta-da moment about what is so nice about this book versus the other books. This book is about 25 bucks currently on Amazon. Again, goes through the color wheel, theories, all kinds of things that you can read through in this introduction part of the book. Then we start getting into the color palettes themselves. Here is red. Just, again, thousands and thousands. I'll bring you out even more because it is rather a wide book. So you have your palettes on both sides of the page with all the values on the inside. So I'll keep you zoomed out like that just so you can get an idea of the thousands upon thousands of color palettes that are in this particular book. So here we are into the red-orange complementary, which is stated way up at the top. Here we get into some orange complementary, orange-yellow analogous. Hey, I said it that time. Split complementary, yellow analogous, yellow complementary. Then we get into the yellow greens. Isn't that pretty? This would be really nice for some of our foliage and trees and, all of that kind of thing. Those kinds of things. Here we get the split complementary, the triadic. So if you know whether you know your color wheel terminology or not, that's great and that will help you. But even if you don't, let's say, okay, I don't know any of that stuff, but I like this color palette. Okay, then you can go over here and, again, I'm teasing you with that app. You can use those values to find out exactly what marker or pencil you will need for that particular color palette. Here we get into some greens. Complementary. Green, blue, analogous, monochromatic. I mean, it goes on and on. Here's some beautiful blues that would work great for skies, for water, Here we have my favorite section, the purples. Blue violets. The triadic. Split complementary, and here we get into the regular violets. Again, another one of my favorite sections. Okay, again, goes through the same thing. Here's violet reds and pinks. Aren't these pretty? I think those palettes are so pretty. All of these pinks. Here we have the complementary colors with the green. Then we get into the browns, which are also, you know, interesting with, you know, all the wood and things that you can do. When you look in the reds, gives you really good ideas for like brickwork, things like that. So here's your triadic browns, complementary with the purples. Then we get into the grays, which is nice too. We do need, you know, some grays in our shading and whatnot. So this kind of goes through kind of what works well with what color. Give you a good idea of, you know, different ones that you can use for your shading. Then it has here color in nature. I like this section too because it will give you a picture and it will tell you what colors, what hex values, RGB and CMYK values are in that particular picture. Which there's another nice feature in this app that does the very same thing. Okay, so we'll take this flamingo. It gives you all the color values in that picture. So if you kind of want to see, okay, I like that color scheme, but how is it going to work in an actual picture? It will show you. Isn't that a beautiful fish? It'll kind of give you an idea of what that all looks like when you have those those colors all combined. So here's a lot of aquatic. Here's your lionfish, your jellyfish. Okay, so just to kind of give you an idea of how you can use this section of the book. Isn't that pretty? Love that. Painted Hills in Oregon. That is so pretty. Now you would think that there would be just tons and tons of purples in there, and there are, but there's, you know, other colors that you normally maybe wouldn't have thought of. At least I wouldn't necessarily. Our eye doesn't always catch all the colors that are actually in pictures. And so, okay, so that's what this whole section is about. So that is the last book that I want to show you. Again, I think out of all of them, this is my favorite because it does show the hex values. But if you're just looking for color palettes, you cannot beat these two books. And then again, these two in regard more geared towards colored pencil. So now let's show you the app I was talking about. I am going to bring up my iPad. Okay, there it's up already. Okay, the app I am talking about. Oh, am I froze? Okay, there I am. Huh, it seemed to have froze. I may have to edit some of this out. Maybe it wasn't frozen, it just looked like it. Okay, let me straighten you guys out. Okay, I have my iPad up. The name of the app is Marker Match. And let me bring you down. Now, I only have Apple products. I am not sure if this is available on Android. I would almost think so. The vast majority of apps, if you see them on Apple, you can, I mean, not always, but many times you will find them on Android also. So it is called Marker Match. It is a completely free app, which makes it that much better. Okay, so let's bring it up. I'm going to bring you back out just a tad. Okay, here it's going to bring up the last color that you searched for. Now, looking at this screen, you can see up here is your hex value. Here is your RGB value. So that's why I have been mentioning the RGB value so much through those color palette books. So if you do not have the hex value, you would just input the R, the G, and the B values. So let's get out that last book that I showed you that has both the hex values and the RGB values. And let's just find a palette that we want to find out what our Prismacolor picture or pencils are. Okay, so let's just flip to this page and let's say we want this color palette. All right, let's look at the very first value up here. Okay, let's go down to, let's go down to this one. So this deep red value, the RGB is 206, 32, and 32. Those are the values, the color values that make up that color. But here is the hex value. So let's take this hex value, CE 2020. Let's bring the iPad in. We're going to tap on there. It is CE 2020. I always forget the 0 is way, let me bring you out again. Sorry about that. The 0 itself is over here. So we typed in CE 2020, brings up this dark red. Now, right now I have Copic Sketch. So it is showing me, let me bring you in a little bit so you can see this more clearly. It is showing me what Copic Sketch marker would work the best and match that particular color. And in this instance, it is E19, which is redwood. Okay, now maybe I don't have that one. What's the next closest one? It would be Tuscan Orange, which is YR27. Maybe you don't like any of these 4 and you want to see 5 different colors. This can also come in handy if maybe you're just looking for a bunch of reds that may kind of work together. So you can, put any number of colors, however many you want it to list. Maybe you only want the top 3. Okay, now again, this is for Copic Sketch, but if you click on this button, you will see you can select from Copic Sketch, the Chow, because the Chow does not have as many colors as the Sketch, so it'll show you the closest one in Chow. Some people have the classics. Now Copic Wide, there are not that many colors in Copic Wide, but it does show you the closest. Now here is your Prismacolor. If you have the chisel end markers, here are the brush markers. In here it is called Prismacolor Softcore, and those are the pencils that we are all familiar with. So let's look at the Prismacolor pencils. Here it's saying Crimson Red PC 924, sorry, is the closest color to match this color that we are looking at in the book. Okay, so you may want to jot that down, PC 924. Now let's say we have Polychromos. Maybe you have both, but you didn't like how that other one matched too well. Oh, Polychromos, yes, that's a deeper of the red. I think that matches more closely. Or maybe I want to go a little bit darker. 219 is deep scarlet red in Polychromos. Maybe I want to see maybe a couple extra ones. Ooh, these look kind of nice. Maybe they would blend together nicely. Things like that. The possibilities are endless with this particular app. We also have the Spectrum Noir markers. Many of you have those. We have the Touch Twin markers. We have the Touch Twin brush markers. We do have the Tombow dual brush pens in here. We have the Letraset Trias, and the Winsor & Newton brush markers and Pro markers are listed in here. The Blick brush markers are listed in here, and the Ziggs brush markers are listed in here. So you can see that pretty much any pencil or marker that you have, out of all of them you have, something should be included in here. Now, of course, these are higher end products. It's not going to be listing your, unfortunately, your Crayolas, things like that. And it doesn't include every single pencil brand. There's no way it can include every single marker brand, things like that. But it does have, again, the most popular ones out there. Between Copic, Prismacolor, and Faber-Castell. I mean, those are your top ones. I know many of you do have the Touch, the Tombos, Winsor Newton, Blicks, or a combination of all of them. So that was using the hex value. Now, let's say we're in one of these other books. We don't have hex values. Okay, so let's get out this book and let's find a pretty color palette. Well, let's just go into, because we're just gonna, for the sake of argument here, let's say we like this one. Okay, so we're gonna come over here. Now on top again is the CMYK values. The app does not use those values. It uses these bottom values. Say, oh, I really like that kind of magenta color. What value is that? So the red, green, blue value of that is 182, 36 green, and 103 blue. So let me bring the app back over. Okay, so then we are going to type in here the red value, which was 182R. No. Oh, yeah. Okay, the red value is 182. Don't have to put the R. Okay, the green value is 36. And the blue value is 103. Okay, so that is the value for that particular color. Now again, that is showing it for sketch. Maybe I'm doing Prismacolor. Okay, so it's going to show you it for Prismacolor. Now, if you hit this plus sign, you can add these colors to either your inventory or your wish list, especially like for Copics. If you don't have the entire set, you can add it, say, okay, yes, I do have this color in my inventory, or no, I don't have it and I want it on my wish list. So you can go ahead and just hit inventory. Instantly, that color is in your inventory. Now this is for the Prismacolor. Let's say I am in my Copic sketch. I don't have carmine. I want to add that to my wish list. Okay, strong red. I love that color. I don't have it. I'm going to add it to my wish list. Okay, so that is how you go about, okay, the 182, 103. It's like that disappeared, huh? Okay, there we go. So, and again, you can show more than just the top 3 colors. Go into the Polychromos. And again, we're showing the top 4 colors. And yeah, use the plus signs over here. I want to take a glance at my notes here that I was working out last night when I was in the development stages of this, creating this video. Let me bring you back out just a tad. Now it does have this icon in the lower corner where you can make it smaller or a little bit larger. Of course, you know, if it's me, the bigger the better. You can see it easier. So I always leave it on large view. Okay, and let me straighten you out. Okay, so yes, you can pick your Copic Prismacolor. You can show more than 3 colors. Okay, now if you go down to the product, this is where you can pick your particular product that you're working with. And again, I'll bring it back down just a tad. So let's say I am working with sketch. Now it's going to bring you up all of the sketch colors. And let's say you're like, oh, okay, so this is going to keep track of your inventory and your wish list also. So if you have this on your phone, which I do, and you're going to Michael's or you're going to Hobby Lobby, they got a fantastic sale on their Prismacolor pencils or on Copics. And you're like, oh shoot, what color did I need again? Oh yeah, I needed B18. And I needed, oh, select first, sorry. I needed cobalt blue, and I needed baby blue, maybe Antwerp, and I needed, oh yeah, I want some of those mint blues or mint greens. So you can add the 5 items to either your inventory or your wish list. So I'm going to add them to my wish list because those are 5 markers that I want to get. Okay, then if you find some that you know you already have and you want to mark it as being in your inventory, again, you'll hit select. Select those colors that you already have, add 3 items and add them to your inventory. Okay, now as far as inventory and wish list, those type of things, they call them palettes. To me, that's an odd name, but if you go down to palettes, it's going to show you your inventory and your wish list. You can rename these 2 things, so you can edit it. Okay, so you can rename them if you want, or you can add a new palette. So if you have one that's, I don't know, maybe you borrowed some to, you lent some to a friend and you wanted to keep track of what you lent out, especially if they're Copics. You know, maybe you want one that said lent or borrowed, or, you know, who knows. You can create new palettes. Maybe you do have a favorite palette that you do like to use and you want to call it, you know, something, and you can add in your colors. And I think maybe that's why they initially called this palettes. But here are the inventories that I added from, or the colors in my inventory that I added before. States what product it is. Here I added one from the Prismacolor Premier Chisel marker. Here is my wish list. Here are Copics that I need to get yet. So this would be a really handy app to take with you, rather than digging in your purse with those pieces of paper and saying, okay, I need this and I need this and I need this. Okay. Really neat way to keep track of your inventory. Now, if we go back to the Find button, brings you back to this screen. Again, you can type in the hex value if you have it, or you will type in the RGB. Now, if you tap on this ink dropper, or eyedropper, I should say, this is your Pixel Matcher tool. So if you come up and you scroll this around, this here is going to stay static, this circle with the dot in the middle, and it is going to tell you up here the hex value of that particular color. So let's move it over to the pink. Okay, it's going to give you the value. Now this is very limited, of course, in the colors that it's showing, but if you click on this icon, this picture icon up here, you can bring in any picture that you have on your camera roll. Let me bring in this peacock and let's save it. And it is going to bring up the colors that in Polychromos. Let's bring it up in Prismacolor. Okay, I have not done this yet. Let's go back. Okay, depending on where you're situated on that peacock. Okay, can you see that? Here is your hex code for that particular color. Maybe I want to come over here and find out what this blue is. Okay. And I don't know if you can see that clear enough. Maybe I need this gold color. Okay. That's the hex value. So if we save that, again, it's going to bring you immediately back to here, show you what Prismacolor or Copic color that is. So isn't that neat? Or you can go back right to the eyedropper, go back to your picture, find out what your next color is. Okay, so that's another neat way of finding specific Prismacolor pencil, Polychromos, Copic, whatever it is, if you need to find out what colored pencils are in a picture. You could snap a snapshot of that picture, bring it into this app, and it's going to tell you exactly what you need to color a picture with similar colors to that or that exact picture. Okay, let's see what else. If you pick this here particular button, you can scroll across the top, and it goes through all of the different, colors up here. But then you can scroll around find all the different hex values. So this is another way. You don't bring in a picture, but you can scroll across the entire color spectrum from one end to the other. Here is the hex value for that particular deep pink, and save it. And again, it's going to bring you right back to this initial page and tell you exactly which Copic sketch, which, let's go down to maybe you have the Blicks. Okay, what's going to match it most closely? Now, of course, all of these, products are not going to match all of these colors exactly. It is giving you the closest match that there is. Then you have your magnifying glass. And I have not used that, so I'm not exactly sure what that is. I'll have to do some research on that. But yeah, okay, so that is what all of those icons represent. Then our find, our palettes, went through that, which is our inventory and our wish list. All of the products, if you want to add, your, maybe there's some Blick brush markers I would like to get. So I'm going to select maybe the grays. Maybe I need all the grays. And I'm going to add them to my wish list. Okay. So that is the products. Then we get into settings. This app does not automatically back itself up. So if you're just looking at the color palette and you're just trying to determine what pencil or marker you want, that's not a big deal. If for some reason something happened to your app on your phone or your iPad, whatever your mobile device is. But if you have your inventory and wish list stored in this app, if something were to happen to your phone or your mobile device, your whole inventory or wish list would be gone. So you can set up where it auto backs it up to the iCloud. I'm not sure how this works with the Android, if you have a similar type of feature as the Apple products do with the iCloud. So you can set it up for auto backup. I'm not really going to, because I'm not really using that feature as far as my inventory and wish list. But you can manually back it up, restore from a backup. You can export your list out or import from another one. Okay? So that is this awesome app. It'll always bring you back to the last thing that you searched for, with what product. Okay, how do you like that? I think that is so cool. And I kind of forgot about this app. So I have not been using it at all in the past, boy, I don't know, since probably last year sometime. I knew I had something like this, and when I first started thinking about doing this video and I was getting out my color palette books and I was, looking at the values, I'm like, I know I had something that would show me exactly what, I wasn't sure if it was just Copics. I thought I had something that showed me everything. And I did some digging and Googling and Googling, Googling and Googling, and I finally figured it out. So, yay me. All right. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to mention about this. No, I think that pretty much covers it all. Again, this app is completely free. And again, it is called Marker Match. You can find it very easily in the App Store. You Android people will have to look and see if this is available for you. Again, I would almost think so. Or if not this exact app, I would think something very comparable. I just particularly really love this app. So, okay, well, guys, that is it. This video got a little bit longer than what I thought it was going to, but I guess that's a good thing. That means I explain things maybe thoroughly enough. So, again, we have our 3 color palette books. Links down in the description. We have the 101 textures for colored pencils, and we have the colored pencil artist pocket palette. All right, what did you think about all that info? I know I went through it quite fast, and if anybody has any questions whatsoever on anything that I quickly zoomed through in this particular video, please leave me a comment down below. Ask me, or if it's a little more of an in-depth question, feel free to pop me over an email. My email address is down below in the description. It is lisascoloring@gmail.com, and I'll be more than happy to help you out if I am able. If I don't know the answer, I will do some research and see if I can find the answer for you. So if you liked this video and showing all these goodies in the app, please hit that like button and subscribe if you are new to my channel. Today is Thursday. I hope everybody's having a terrific week. And as always, happy coloring.